All right, kicking off another episode of Zen and Callsigns. And my next guest is Filippo Giusti. So he's an incredible artist out of San Miguel de Allende. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. So Filippo and I met happenstance about 5 years ago as my family was spending Thanksgiving in San Miguel. It is a beautiful small town in kind of the northwest of Mexico City, southeast of what's the town I fly
Monterrey.
into? Leon. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay.
I walked into his studio and was completely enamored by his artwork. It exuded this realistic, not let's say photorealistic, almost, but with also this aura, or as he'll describe it, I think essentialism.
Yes.
But yeah, if you'd like to kick off with a little bit about yourself, starting for young Filippo.
Yeah. Well, I was born in Livorno, which is in Tuscany, it's the port of Tuscany, I would say, very close to Pisa, Florence, but on the coast. Being a painter while I was living in Italy never crossed my mind, never,
Hmm.
because I was too deeply programmed by society, by parents that were trying to protect me with the tools they had. And of course, this thing I've learned these things afterwards. Now I'm speaking from another place. At the time, didn't know what to think. I didn't know what I was actually feeling. I just had this idea of if you're a painter, you're poor. You're gonna
Yeah,
die poor, and maybe if you're lucky, your painting will be worth something after you're dead.
when you're dead.
So
Yeah,
it's pretty common. It really spread
yeah,
everywhere. Italy too, even though everybody thinks Italy is nowadays the place, the art scene. No, it's not
yep,
really true. I think there is some also. We have these great artists from the Michelangelo, the Renaissance, no,
yep.
Leonardo. I think we have a little bit of trauma. It's not fair to generalize, but I guess when you have when you have this father, this big figure, no, this
Yeah,
father has done so great, then
yes,
sometimes the son feels a little bit weird up in the same field of the
yeah,
father. No, I
yeah,
think we have the same trauma. I don't know, and it's not fair because during the in the modern also contemporary modern art scene Italian, there are great artists and they made it, no, worldwide, but not as the Renaissance. Anyways, never thought about being a painter in Italy, but never wanted to be the lawyer of the doctor that my parents want me to be.
yeah,
So there's always this feeling inside of me of really want to express something I had inside of me. Just never thought about painting, but eventually I met this girl. She was an actress. And because of her, I kind of became an actor just to escape the plan that my parents want for me, no? And I was 18 at the time, and was the moment for I needed to leave Livorno and the small city in Tuscany to become something else. And I started as an actor. Can I keep going on this track?
Oh yeah, please do. Yes, sir.
Yeah, because I don't want to, if you have any question, of course, you
I
always interrupt me.
Well,
But
so I have one for you there. So, and how does it work in Italy? So, 18, you're finished high school or the equivalent,
yes,
and then you're kind of like, now I'm out. I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
no, generally speaking, no.
Okay.
For friends from US and being Italian, I think that culturally we are very different. There is this tendency of in Italy. It's also fun, everybody say this, but this. Usually the son always want to stay with the mother. So and the mother try to keep him like in
Yeah.
the being comfortable with the parents when you are 30s. No, so it's not something that you. Instead, many friends told me that in US there is this tendency of like almost kicking out you're 18, you are
Yeah.
graduated now, you
Yeah.
pay
You
rent.
go to college, get out, right? Do
Yeah,
it, whatever. Yeah. Yeah. There's
for
a little
for
more,
for
but
us.
also there's still that motherliness in the US where they're gonna coddle the kid to a degree, but
Okay.
similar but different.
I think Italian moms can be more extreme, but in any case, I was different. I really wanted to live as soon as possible, and I became an actor. I convinced myself I wanted to be an actor. I liked acting. It wasn't real. I just subconsciously I knew, but I really want to be an actor just to prove my father wrong. And of course, again, I understood this afterwards. At the time, I didn't know about it, but I really convinced myself. But when my father I have a great relationship with my parents, and I know now that with my grandparents, they had less tools, no, to experience life, also to experience themselves. So they gave me the tools that they got. Right now, we have so many tools that we can get from some other sources like the internet. You are in Bali, I'm in Mexico, with sharing ideas. It wasn't that easy when my parents were growing up. So I don't blame them, but still the tools that they can give it to me for me weren't enough. And my father once told me, and I still remember, it was a Sunday, and I had really a bad experience with my agent at the time in Rome. I was already in Rome at the time. And I got back home just for the weekend in Tuscany to stay home, and maybe without knowing how to ask, I was trying to get help from my parents. And also I looked for help in the wrong place because they weren't the right people to ask for this help. But they're
Yeah.
the parents, so you just go there. And maybe sometimes it's wiser to ask help to people that have experience or knowledge about what your problem, your issue. And they say, there is this sentence that I always like, that if you want a Ferrari, don't ask advice to the owner of this Toyota, whatever
Yeah.
car that is not so fancy, without saying anything bad about Toyota. But was a quote
Yeah.
that I wrote on the internet. It stayed with me because it's true. Sometimes the mistake was I was asking advices for how to get a Ferrari to someone that doesn't own a Ferrari, doesn't even own a
Yeah.
car. And my father told me, I was very sad. I was complaining to my mother, and he overheard. He arrived in the living room. I said, maybe with his way of helping me, maybe he told
Right.
me, "Of course you're sad. Of course you're having problem. You're trying to be something. You're trying to be something different that you're meant to be, and you're not supposed to. Everybody," he told me, "everybody would love to be Clint Eastwood." He said that,
Yeah.
but you are a normal guy coming from a normal family, and you should be doing something normal. Of course,
Hmm.
you are like that. So in a very vulnerable moment of my life, he hit me, maybe without really wanting to hit, but he hit
Yeah.
me strong.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I don't know how, I didn't absorb it enough to stop believing that I could do something extraordinary, and
Yeah.
even I'm from a normal family. But I I did absorb it in a way that my ego converted in a wrong way. So I was tricked. My frightened part maybe was tricked, and my ego explode and said everything subconsciously. I wasn't aware at the
Yeah.
time, but I said, "Okay, I'm gonna prove you wrong," without knowing I was in this sentence. But this is what happened. So the years after that day, I made it work, because
Yeah.
actually I never had to do another work as a like waiters, which is totally fine. All my friends, actors friends, they were doing this, but I could provide for myself through acting miserably, but still, no, I
Yeah.
could provide for myself. But
Yeah.
I felt really miserable inside because I was doing something that I wasn't supposed to be doing, that I convinced myself doing it only to prove my father wrong. So everything is wrong inside of me.
Yeah.
The seed that create this tree, that create these fruits, was rotten. So the fruits also are wrong, no, are
Yes.
bad. And basically this is what happened. I felt miserable. I was, till the point I was doing, I was having all the cliche of the bohemian life of an actor. I did all of those cliches.
Yeah.
I have this unhealthy lifestyle without looking. There were days that I didn't see the sunlight. I was just going, maybe the sunrise when I was about to go to bed, and then wake
Right.
up was already dark. I felt really miserable till the point I got these panic attacks every night
Hmm.
almost. And it felt so bad that I did most of those I don't remember still, but my roommate at the time, I spoke with him actually today. He remembered those because he was the one who helped me, and
Yeah.
he found me on the floor, very tough. And I think it's important to share, all these
Agreed.
moments.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry.
I think that you just as you're sharing, like that's like that vulnerability in a way is something that is a superpower in some ways. when you're vulnerable with somebody, that shows like your humanity, and that everybody has these parts of their life that are bad. The fruits are rotten, as you're saying. So like you're that fruit that you kind of describe on the floor, like you're the tools from your parents. And because I have a similar experience of my time in the military where I'm like, not happy at all. So yeah, that's huge. Please continue.
Thank you. Yeah. And I've learned this from many people from US. This is a little parenthesis. There is culturally, it's not common in Italy to find people that are comfortable enough to share their vulnerability of the moment they were
Yeah.
really in the bad situation. And generally speaking, also because you are maybe 300 million people, so it's very difficult to generalize. But
Yeah.
I found many people like podcasts like you're doing right now, hosts, writers of books, the books that helped me the most, and the coaches that helped me the most from US, 99%. They share with so much generosity the weak moment of their life that it feels so good to give back, no, put
Yeah.
out in the word the same thing, because thanks to their courage to share those moments, I didn't feel weird,
Yeah. Well, I think
so
like I think if you're, I've heard that similarly where some people have said to me of like, where, hey, Blake, you make me feel comfortable to be vulnerable and to like share that, because, and I mean, that was kind of like, all right, I guess I'm on the right path. It makes sense. I should be doing that, because I equate it to real simple Marine terms. If I'm leading Marines and they understand my vulnerabilities, right? I'm imperfect human, and we're in a life or death situation. And I know some of my Marines are going to die, and they may even know that. And I ask them to do that. They're going to do it no matter what, because they and follow the orders and like do that, because they know that, hey, I would die for them just as much as they would die for me. And the only way you get that is being vulnerable. And that's like that. So yeah, I get it 100%.
great. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so going back to the point, I was having these panic attacks every night, and
Yeah.
for me was crucial because I felt like someone was pressing me underwater, and was a feeling that every day I was like underwater. I was in a place where I wasn't supposed to be, an uncomfortable place where you cannot breathe almost, no. And but thanks to that, I found eventually the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
So I got tired. That's the only thing I can say. This is why when they ask me to talk, to give a speech or whatever, I always encourage the idea of just get tired and sick of your situation if the situation you are in is not making you happy or gives you serenity, no? It's really
Yeah.
because we are human beings. I think the problem, what I found out, at least what I think, is we are so good at creating comfort zone in the most uncomfortable places. The way I
Yeah.
see it is like we are underwater, someone is pushing you underwater, and maybe because the pollution of the ocean, you find this, what it's called, the thing they use to drink,
Snorkel or straw.
a straw, no? Like
Yeah.
Coca-Cola, use a
Yeah.
straw.
Yep.
I feel people sometimes find straw and use
Right.
it, breathe with, and keep staying underwater. And as long as you're breathing, even if I'm not meant to be here, I'm breathing. It's too scary to throw
Yeah.
again the straw away and to go and look for the bottom of the ocean. It's dark, it's scary, no? But this bottom gives you the place, the floor for you to push with your foot and then get out and breathe again properly, no? But we are so good in find comfortable a comfort zone in every
Yeah.
places that are not meant for us. Like
Yeah.
driving in Mexico City, people drive 3 hours a day, go to reach the job, and 3 hours
Yeah.
on the way back home. And traffic, this is why I like San Miguel very much, because I use my bicycle, I can walk everywhere. Rome was really overwhelming, some big city for me now. Maybe
Yeah.
trick my frightened part of the day, so I'm still healing that part. So this is why I like small places. But yet, thanks to those circumstances, again, I got tired. That was the most important thing. And I start acting from another place inside of me instead of acting from that seed, that ego, the seed that my ego created, that eventually always creates something wrong. For the first time, I start acting from this healthy seed that was born from a place of love for myself. I needed to love me in order to be willing to breathe again. No?
Exactly.
And sometimes I think it's difficult. People, it doesn't need to me. The way I see it, doesn't need for you to be a next Rambo, the next hero of the movie. When you change your
Yeah.
life, you can start acting from something small, very small. It can be get rid of the bad friendship. It can be get rid of whatever. Myself, the thing that I picked, I don't know why. Well, I kind of know why, but I just wanted to learn English. I was raised in a place where nobody speak English. Still,
Mm.
in Italy, it's very common that people don't speak English, especially from a small town. No? And I was in Rome. I attached my panic attacks and everything also to the place. Rome is so beautiful, but for me, it was like hell, which is interesting. Now, perspective is
Yeah.
always very interesting. And
Yeah,
I
it
was like,
is.
maybe if I can speak in English, of course, with my Italian accent, it's fair. I'm gonna be doing maybe characters in the abroad in London or wherever, acting in movies, doing the Italian guy. But at least I'm not gonna be in Rome. So
Yeah.
let's learn English. So you can. I think everybody can start from something very small. Don't
Yeah.
worry to be not worrying about. Okay, I got tired. I want to change my life. You don't need to do something huge. That is
And how
can be.
old are you at this point?
I was 27,
And so
7
you've
ish.
been kind of doing the acting thing in this area for how long?
I started acting when I was 19,
Okay.
and
All right.
I till the 26, till
Okay.
26. During the journey, I moved from the north, Genova and Milan for the first years, and then Rome because I moved from theater to movies, TV, and all those are in Rome if you want to do that.
Gotcha.
Of course, I met great people, but one of the highlights was working with Wim Wenders, which is a director from Germany that I love. Or
Yeah.
Danny Boyle is another director, really cool. But most of the time, I felt really really bad. So, anyways, I started learning English, and I guess we always get signals from the universe, from God, whatever you want to call it, about our direction on the path we are in. No,
Yep.
it requires humbleness to see the signals when you are in the wrong path. Usually we don't want to see those and we keep learning. But we also get signals, good feedback when you are in the good path. And for me, that good signal was when this photographer, she's a woman from New York. She wanted very famous artist in New York, and she wanted to do a book about Italy. And she contacted this friend of a friend that eventually nobody was able to speak English good enough to be working with her. And they reached out to me, and I wasn't ready, but I said yes. I
Yeah.
said yeah, I can do it. And of course, her accent from New York, like it's very strong.
Yeah.
Maybe I understood 60-70% of the things that she told me, but I was always able to manage it and to find a way to what she wanted me to do. And because I was working with her, the first day of the shooting, we were in Rome. Then we traveled throughout Italy, but the first day was Rome, and she wanted to take a photo of this fountain in Piazza Navona.
Yeah.
That was so crowded. Maybe I told you this story, right? But about how I met my girlfriend, because as I was saying, the fountain was so crowded that day that I approached the people, all the people around the fountain, and I started asking, could you move? Can you just gently, we are doing the shooting, famous photographer, please, 3 seconds. There's some crazy people actually follow my instruction and they
Yeah.
moved, but not everybody. And one person that was still sitting there, one of the people that was sitting there was my girlfriend, this girl that immediately saw, and I was like, oh, she's good looking, she's beautiful. But I had to keep working. I had to go ahead with the shooting. And actually, the first romantic sentence with my girlfriend was, could you move? And eventually,
Get out of the way.
get out of the way. But it worked out at the end.
Yeah.
And of course, we had a break after the shooting. So I started talking to her and we like each other. And then a month after that day, I traveled to Mexico for the first time. And for the first 6 months of the relationship, we were doing back and forth, both of us, until we figured it was easier for me to be in Mexico as an Italian, that for her, with the visa and everything, for her from Mexico to be in Europe. With that, and at that time, I didn't know I could paint. I was 28, no idea. I had the 27, 28. And we tried to do another business and it didn't work. Of course, thankfully it didn't work because
Yeah.
actually we were looking only for the money. And another lesson that, at least for my belief, another lesson that I got was if you only look, you are looking for money, you will never get it. I think
Yeah. You
money
can.
is more an inevitable consequence of you providing value to society, no?
True.
And
Yes.
so it didn't work, thankfully. And I didn't know what to do. I was in Mexico. I just wanted to be with her. And one day, coincidentally, or maybe not, I went to Fabrica La Aurora when we met. And as we met, I was a tourist like you were, and I entered in this studio where there was this other painter, and we start talking, and I understand that was possible to be a painter making it. That I never really crossed my mind. I was like,
Mm.
really? Are you not poor? I was really naively asking, do you have a house? Do you have, And he told me, still remember, he told me, there are a bunch of us, other artists in the whole Aurora, in the art complex. Aurora is the former textile factory that now is converted in this beautiful art center, and the rooms now are artist studios or gallery. So you have proximity with many artists, and all of those, they didn't look poor. This
Right.
is when I understood. This is when I understood that they lied to me for all these years, because they told
Yeah.
me if you are a painter, you're gonna die poor, and actually they look better than I did.
Yeah.
So I just, in that moment, I could start the first shift of my belief system. It was
Interesting.
crucial.
Yeah.
So by proximity, by being with someone that is a living proof that is actually something is possible, you can change your belief system in a second. And when I saw that was possible, it became so intense, and I wanted to learn everything. Really wanted to try it. And thanks to the internet, basically, and YouTube, I've
Yeah.
learned everything on YouTube. I didn't have the money at the time to go to an art school, but thankfully I didn't do it. I'm
Yeah.
glad I didn't, because being exposed to criticism sometimes is not the best. If you get the best teacher, it's amazing. But few people are. This is my point of view, because I had this as an actor. I went to the best acting school in Italy, supposedly. It was really tough because it's great to listen. I think we have to listen everybody, and I'm always looking for criticism. Also in my paintings, there is a guy who is cutting the grass outside and I also the gardener. I ask him, "What do you think?" No, so listen to
Yeah.
everybody, but hear only yourself, your intuition. No, there is this different. It's deeper, no, when you only, it's
Yeah.
it's
No,
really.
I agree. I think that's an interesting balance you're describing, is that similarly is like I want to listen and hear everybody, operate with love and compassion always. Like what do my kids come up to me, and or my wife to my paintings, and they'll be, like, they're like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Thank you so much." I like, maybe somebody else will like it or something. But yeah, you're always feeling into that. And I feel like that's in a way almost expressed in your artwork of you're painting, a person's like almost like their real face, what it looks like with oil, but then you'll see the line where you see their essence. And I love, that's probably what drew me to your artwork so much, of that balance, right? It's in there. It's the same thing, but they can be completely different. So I think you just described it as the guy cutting the grass outside. Hey, what do you think? You're always open to that, and I think that's what makes you special. And
Thank you.
yeah, and that's thank you.
Thank you for saying this. And I'm always open, but not fully open. Not anymore. Used to, when I was an actor, and this is why I'm concerned about art schools, because we
Yeah.
gave so much authority to the teacher, and I'm wondering how many of those teachers are there for the love of teaching, or because they couldn't make it as an artist, so they need to pay
Right.
rent, and so they start
Right.
teaching. The frustration that they have, they're passing to the students.
Yeah. Yeah. So my wife went to a Christian high school in Dallas, Texas, and she
Okay.
took an art class her junior year, and the teacher was a Chinese American, and he had a pretty thick Mandarin accent. And Kelly's no artist exactly, and that's okay. But she did something and showed the teacher, and then he walks up and he's like, "This not art, this not art," and I'm like, why would he say that? Like, but I feel like that's a great example of like, this guy has some his own stuff he's taking out on students. So it's like, listen, like if somebody's there expressing it, good or bad, objectively, subjectively, who gives a shit? It's like
Mhm.
that is, and I know Kelly, like typically everything she does out of love and puts her time and energy into it. So, but I feel like that's a that's a great example of like, man, art school could be a crapshoot, you know?
Yeah, 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 yeah. And maybe I don't want to open this big, huge parenthesis, but maybe also being a parent is the same thing. And I'm not a parent and I'm not a teacher, even they invited me to give courses. I never
Yeah.
accepted because I feel this huge responsibility. I think teaching is beside doctors that are an artist maybe the most important things in the world. And teachers are so bad paid and everything, but
Yeah.
uh, not to enter in this other topic. For me, it's such a big responsibility. I feel I'm not mature enough to take
Yeah.
because it's so difficult to choose when to push the student to do a little bit more, when to let him or her express whatever they want to share. So it's really, really tough. I don't have a solution, so maybe it's not up to me to criticize anything.
Well, yeah, I feel like that's classic to say because again, you're to be invited to the table to teach and then decline it. I feel like it's like I think in a lot of my life seems like in yours where it's like the path is divine, and when you're meant to teach, like it'll literally unfold in front of me.
Yeah, so my biggest goal, my longest term goal is to be a teacher, honestly.
Mm,
But I'm see myself like,
beautiful.
with this
Yeah.
long white beard and everything like Aristotle or whatever, this
Yeah.
philosopher. But I think it's really far away from where I'm right now.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't go to an art school because they put me so much limiting beliefs when I was an
Hmm.
actor. And I see all these painters that they went to art school. I'm sure there are plenty of great art school. But generally speaking, I see some frustration that comes with being a student in this prestigious art school also. And I'm so glad that I didn't had to go through that. And I just learned on YouTube. You pick the teacher you want because you can see
Yeah.
the result, not the
Yeah.
teacher you were given because the closest to your house, no? So
Yeah.
if this guy is great and he's in Australia, but I like the way he paints, maybe in 10 artists, three of them they have a course and they have video instructor,
Right.
where they share their
Yep.
technique. So I learned that way. It worked it out. I showed my first painting, Fabrica Aurora. It sold immediately. Before it was finished, that was amazing. I mean, I really want that
Wow.
feeling for everybody. I hope everybody can feel the same that I felt in this new life. No, not just the selling part. Everything. Every day is a big success. Just
Yeah.
doing what you're doing is so beautiful that I really wish it for everybody.
So you got there when or you're in Mexico or in San Miguel
Mhm.
and with your girlfriend, and so you go to the Fabric Ahora and you see this as an opportunity. So how long from when you were there, that initial time, to then you painted or there, like how long did you stay or what happened right then?
This guy needed someone that opened the guy who convinced me that I could live with my art. No, he needed a guy who opened his gallery. So he told me, if you open my gallery for 5 days a week, I'm not gonna pay you, but I'm gonna let you use one of the easel in my studio on the back of the gallery.
Yeah.
So that was how
Awesome.
I started, and I of course I went there 7 days a week, not 5 days a week. And I did the first painting that was just the feeling of me diving in a new life. So it was kind of surrealism
And is
style.
that the painting? Is it like the one that the skyline of San
Yeah.
Miguel diving in? That was the
Yeah.
first one?
That was my very first painting.
No shit. That is so wild. Because
Thank
I did a skyline. I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe showed it to you.
I
I
saw
did a skyline of San
with
Diego.
the building, no?
Yeah, so it's the silhouette. It's a big
Yeah.
one. So, but yeah,
You did
that's
a
kind of
video, a
interesting.
process, no? A video
Huh?
process of the painting, maybe.
I didn't, not that one. That was the first one I did. I think I took a couple pictures of the process, but I think that's interesting. Not, no, don't talk about me, but I think that's kind of like that. I think you would like that surrealism. And I
Mhm.
love that, that idea is like you encapsulated what you were doing in a painting. And I think that is fucking incredible. And obviously you put that, heart and soul in there and you sold it, right? Bam. Like what? type of
And
affirmation.
of course, when I say this, I'm trying to be very quick because I don't want to take too
Yeah.
much of your time. But people sometimes, when they see the first painting, and they're like, "Oh, well, okay, you're saying all of this, the idea of reborn, change life, it's possible, but you had the talent to sustain this thing. I don't have the talent." And there's a great book that I highly recommend to read. It's "Talented is Overrated,"
Yeah.
that shares all the great names in the history of wherever, Mozart, Tesla, people that Mozart composed maybe 3,000 songs of, then 30 were masterpieces, but 3,000,
Right.
it's a really low percentage. So talent is really helpful if you want to see some result quickly. So maybe with talents you can go a little bit faster
Yeah.
to see result. But I guess everybody, myself for sure, but I guess everybody wants their career to be looking towards like more like as a marathon rather than a sprint, no? So who cares who comes first, The idea is to arrive, and I don't think talent provides you enough skill or tools to reach the final,
Yeah.
the arrival of the marathon. And I guess obsession, compromise, showing up, those are things that you are not born with. You learn those things, and those things make you run more kilometers than in the marathon rather than the talent, I guess. So I'm there every day. Today it's 8:15 p.m. As soon as we finish, I'm gonna be back. And I arrive at 11 a.m. So I'm gonna stay probably until 1 a.m. tonight. So this is really what makes the difference, I guess, than the
Yeah.
talent. Talent helps, but it's not really necessary. Sometimes it's also a trap. You can get lost in the talent. So don't
Well,
worry about it.
even I think you said that well, from Mozart to Picasso, artists, living or dead, they made money while they're living, or they died, then their paintings were worth a lot. It's, you look at that and they're always prolific. They've made a lot. So like you said, nobody's ever heard of most of the stuff, or never even seen of most of it, but it's the like being prolific. And I always thought that for myself as like, I want to just make art, like go right. Most of them I didn't care. I wanted to just do it because I loved it. I still do. I still love it that much. I've kind of taken a hiatus to a degree. But can you like
I
speak to that?
know.
Because it's also persistency, right? Like I like it, and I know I have to be, because it's like this blend of I love it, but I also need to. I don't know. It's like, because you're your own marketer too. You want to sell some artwork, right? You got to do, So like, yeah, that was how do you look at those blend of different things to sell the artwork?
It's a great point, and I agree with you. And I've been thinking about it because I'm writing down another speech that I'm gonna give, and I want to be focused on the idea of this duality that is always present in everything in life. So I think the guy who invented the symbol of the Tao, the white and black, it's so
Yeah,
cliche, but it's so on
yeah,
point
yeah,
because you want to be prolific. There is always the double faces of the same coin, no? So double sides. So I really want to be prolific, as you said, and at the same time I'm so obsessed with giving my best that I try always to get the best of the painting, and not for the sake of being prolific. Maybe I go like, okay, next to the next.
yeah,
But at the same
yeah,
time, you can't be obsessed with the best version that you can do in this moment, because otherwise you can get lost. So I think if you find the way, I think the answer is intuition. We need
yeah,
to restore the conversation that we have with our deeper self with intuition. And this intuition is finds obstacles that are all these limiting beliefs. This is the way I'm seeing it, and I'm trying to put it down for my next conference or whatever speeches, because intuition, if you really align with it, you nailed it. There is not your father voice inside your brain that's saying you should be more prolific, or there is not the galleries on the
yeah,
no. It's really interesting what you said, but of course the more you do, the better the harder you work, the luckier you get. It's all true, and also the opposite is true. It's so weird, but eventually now I'm in that happy place where, and I really wish this for everybody, where I do what I love every day. I'm in the right place. If someone that listens this podcast, one of your listener, they feel like maybe I want to be an artist. Being in the right place is really crucial sometimes. It's important. If you sell ice in Antarctic, it's not valuable. But if you sell ice in desert, no, they can pay big money for it. So
You had maybe some when you walked into the Fabrica Wara, there's like, oh wow, this epiphany seems like. And then you work for free so you could paint right there and have this community of painters, which I feel like that energy, like I can get it like energized you and you
yes,
went for it. It feels like, right? You just literally dove in and painted I feel like the feeling you painted your feelings in a
yes,
way and that artwork. And that's jumping in, right? I feel like there's a kind of not blind, but right. You're just diving in like that feels right. Kind of, is that, would you describe it that way?
yes,
Yeah.
and
Well, yeah, I love that.
you're
That's awesome.
always you always get feedback. No, you always get from the universe and God or whatever. You get luckier.
Yeah.
If you put in the if you are you put yourself in the place where you were meant to be, and to me,
Yeah.
the place you were meant to be is that place where you can make your passion, that thing you were called to do. If you are in the path that where these things can flourish, and every day you can make it flourish even more. Flourish is the right word, right?
Yes.
Blooming or whatever. No, now
Yeah.
I'm confusing the
Exactly.
Spanish. But if you can make it growing, you are in the right place, and
Yeah.
you get even luckier because when you are in that specific path.
Yeah, you're in the flow. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and then you get this guy at the pizza place, or maybe at the restaurant, or maybe at the concert, or you just walking down the street. And that when I was an actor, I never had that. And
Yeah,
not having those lucky strikes, not having that lucky serendipities moment was a sign that I was in the wrong place. I just didn't have the humbleness to see it,
exactly.
and
Yes.
because my ego was obscuring my vision. But now that I'm a painter, and I was saying that it's really important where you are, when I figured that being in Fabrica La Aurora and San Miguel was important, I saw there is a long waiting list, and I saw there were to get one space, but I saw there was a corridor, an empty corridor, not very long, and like more like as a square, I would say. And the owner already saw my first painting. They loved the owner of the whole complex. They loved that I really want to be there. They already believe in my art, but there was no places available. So it was like, why don't you rent me the corridor? And I convert the corridor into a studio. So this way, there is a new attraction from the visitors of the art center, because there is always a painter living live in front of everybody because it's a corridor. You are getting a rent that doesn't exist right now. So I'll bring to the
Yeah.
table two things. You just give me two, and you give me one, the chance. They told me no for a month in a row. Every day, they didn't like the idea. How can you paint in the corridor, blah, blah, blah. Till I put myself in their shoes. For me, it was clear in my mind, but I figured that they didn't have the vision to see the idea. So I did a stupid render with Photoshop, with my basic Photoshop. And I took a photo of myself painting. I took the photo of the corridor. I put 3 photos of the 3 paintings that I've done so far because I just started. And when they saw the photo, they were like, "Oh, that's nice." Okay. So
Yeah.
they gave me the corridor, and the corridor got so crowded every time. They were so impressed. Then
Yeah.
eventually, thanks to COVID, when it's really bad to say thanks to COVID, but I'm saying
Yeah.
respectfully,
Yeah.
this because of COVID, this guy just wanted to be at home. He doesn't want to have a studio there anymore. So he left one place, and they promote me to an actual studio where we met with actual doors. No, right
Yeah.
now, after 8 months of being in a corridor. But I think it's really important to be willing to also to start small with a vision, and they promote me, and now it's great.
So, all right. Well, I'd like for you to chat about your styles have kind of changed, but also it seems like you haven't pigeonholed or put yourself into one style, because you've done a little bit of surrealism as your first painting, you've done this realism, and then this blend of essentialism now that you kind of do. And so, if you could describe, and I'll put up one of the paintings here or over the top of us,
Yeah.
this blend of realism with
So
this essence.
yeah. Yeah, thank you for asking. It's really, I changed during the time, so my style had to change, and
Yeah.
I started with wanting to express myself. So the first painting that you like, it was only about me wanting to express something that I had inside, no? Which is fair. But then I figured that if I really want to make an impact in this world, I needed to be talking not just about myself, but about a community. There is this sentence in the book, Think Like a Monk, really nice book. And this guy says, purpose is for yourself. No, sorry, passion is for yourself, passion, and purpose is for the others. So passion is for yourself. So the sentence is passion is for yourself, purpose is for the others, which means
Got it.
by doing what you love, how can you impact in a positive way society or whatever
Yeah.
community you're in? This is crucial to feel fulfilled. This
Yeah.
fulfilling feeling, not this idea that you make the world a better place. This is where we can really achieve reaching our maximal potential. I call it, no, max,
Yeah.
because it
Maximum potential. Yeah.
yeah, because it's important to be able to express yourself, and I'm grateful I went through that phase. But then what's next? And the next thing is find the way I saw it was I wanted to pick I picked a problem that I care about in the society around me. And the problem is not judge each other only by the appearances. We are divided just for our appearances, for our nationalities or whatever you want to call it, no? For the colors of outside. People
Yeah.
judge each other too quickly. And I was judged unfairly. This is the way I feel. When I was an actor, I was judged only by my appearance. Nobody really cared about my acting skill. It's just about the way you look. And
Yeah.
then we are judged on social media. You are quickly judged in 5 seconds if you don't have enough likes, if you don't have enough follows, or the brand of your shirt is not the right one, or all these colors of outside, the colors of your skin, the colors of your eyes, the colors of the shoes, the car you have. No, I don't care about that thing. I genuinely care about this. And to me, it's a problem that society is still working that way. So when I pick this problem and I use my two passions to work in that problem and to make it better. One, of course, is painting, and the other passion I have is people. I've been empathizing extremely since I'm so young. Maybe this is why I became an actor in a way, because I can't help but empathize with people.
Yeah.
If I see a talent show, I cry. If I if I see someone on the street, I find myself stop and looking at this person and imagine how is your life, how is her relationship with her mother, which is crazy, but it comes just naturally to me.
Yeah.
So instead of being a victim of this thing, because sometimes empathizing too much is really a heavy thing
Yeah.
to have always with you, because everything it feels so strong. So this interest in painting and people blend together. I use it with the purpose of helping others, and the way I can help others, I choose this idea of not judging each other, and this blend all together in the idea of essentialism, where I ask myself, if we were colors inside, and you could see beyond the surface, which colors would we be? Because to me, those colors of inside are more interesting than the colors of the outside, whatever color you see outside. So, and you cannot judge people quickly. You need to take the time to feel and to empathize with the color of someone. So I basically do what you're doing right now with me, which I'm very grateful for, and I thank you. I just interview everybody before I paint someone. I interview them. Maybe I should start record and do maybe my podcast of my essentialism style, but
Yeah.
I'm just
Maybe.
not
Yeah.
technical skilled. But the idea is I love listening to story. I love listening. Who cares if, who cares the way you look, no? Like, for example. But I care when you share your background as a in the Navy, or in the military, or when you speak about the relationship with your wife, or that's is interesting. The outside, I don't care
Yeah.
without being rude, and
Well, and I think that's a quality. That's why I think we're even on this call. Like, why we're doing this is that I stopped your shop, and then we had that first encounter. Then he came back a second time to San Miguel, walked by our shop again, and there is there is a connection there. It's like where I didn't similarly that being empathetic is something I tamped down quite a bit when I was in the military, and then only after I got out and probably with the help of my wife to, hey, like this is a powerful tool if you understand it, and being empathetic is good, but it also can cripple you if you don't. Like this
Exactly.
person that you're working with, you have to work with, could be a terrible person, and I'm like, am I a terrible person too? Because I'm feeling this guy's life is, but it's not. And so I think bifurcating it and seeing people for who they are, the good and the bad, is interesting. And I think that you encapsulate that in some of your artwork. And I'll
Thank you.
be sure to put some up um, as we're talking. So what was the first painting you did in this style, the
It's a,
essentialism style?
it's a collector of mine, more a mentor than a collector from Portland, Maine, a guy that I met in this pizza place in San Miguel one night. And he introduced me to the abstract word. He collects abstract more than figurative. And I wanted to use it. So he was the first. And then another friend of mine from India. The third was my girlfriend, Paulina, and then my self portrait. I didn't
Yeah.
start with my self portrait because, I really wanted to explore and everything. But what is interesting, maybe for your listener, is to know that all the first paintings were big paintings. And a collector of mine told me, I don't think this style is gonna work. This is what the first feedback. There is always the naysayers, no? When your purpose is so aligned and you're so true to it, when you know that it's not just about you, but you're really trying genuinely to help other people,
Yeah.
who cares about the naysayers? No.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
if it's just selfish, what you're doing, this is why I moved to surrealism, to essentialism, because the surrealism I felt it was only for me. But when
Yeah.
what is not just about you, they can tell. Maybe it hurts a little bit, but you just don't take it personal and you go ahead because it's not just about you.
You know you're doing something right when you have naysayers. You have to have them. If everybody's just telling you it's all good, then
Yes.
like you like no, no, no. They're out there. And I
Uh,
think is in what you're saying is that when like you're feeling this, and I can attest to that, your artwork is spectacular, and I
Thank you.
love it, the balance of that realism with that abstract in there, because that is, again, that's
Well, the
dualistic.
first
So
the
yeah, go
first
ahead.
thing they told me, they were like, it's too new. There is too much contrast in between the realism, the abstract, and the
Hmm,
minimalism of the background. This is not gonna work. And the
hmm.
guy who told me this is a big collector. He worked with the biggest name, so he also had some authority.
Interesting.
If I cared, couldn't care less now about his authority because my purpose was so deep inside of me,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
uh, and I start really big because was maybe subconsciously was this statement, gonna do this. This is important. And this
yeah.
guy, when he saw the measurements of my painting, he was like, "I told you this is not gonna work, and you did it so big. Why?" And I answered like, because one day they're gonna be in a museum. Because my paintings one day are gonna be in a museum. And he smiled at me with this pittiness, like poor young boy. He just started painting 2 years ago. He started his new style because essentialism is a name that I invented. When they asked me
Well,
what I was
somebody had
doing,
to invent all the other names, didn't they? It's like, bro.
exactly. And I said, if they is everybody invented an ism, why not myself? No.
Yeah.
You,
I'm going to do
and
that for my style of artwork. You've just inspired me. So thank you. I'm going
oh, I'm glad.
to.
But after 2 years after that day that he told me I'm gonna be in a museum, and he smiled at me like, "I poor guy." 2 years afterwards, I had my first solo show in a museum in Mexico with those paintings, and with that style. And I invented the name Essentialism because the director of the museum asked me, "What should we call it?" And I was like, "Essentialism." So the title of the exhibition was Essentialism. And I start painting my very first painting. I did it only 4 years after,
Yeah.
before the show. So my first solo show in a museum was 4 years after my first painting. If you say if you on paper, it shouldn't be that way. But if you listen to the others, to the naysayers, it shouldn't be that way. But who cares about them? No,
Yeah.
we
I feel like
are.
the fear or that, like, because I can imagine you do it for 2 years, you have this very established guy collector, a lot of money, maybe could help you tremendously,
Yeah.
connections. And he's like, do it this way. And you're like, oh, in your mind, you're like, that goes against like my gut. Like, I love this path. This feels that my gut's telling me. And so it's like that fear kind of creeps in there of like, oh, I should do, I want to do it my way, but I should do it. And it's like, no, the fear is the way. And then to
Yeah.
go into of whatever that what your gut's telling you, like it's fearful to go the opposite way of the big guy. And then that means you go that way. That path less
Yeah.
traveled seems to always, you always reap the rewards of that, like 10, 20, like untold measurement of success you get, I think, from going into that path. Would you
Yes,
agree with that?
I do agree. And I
Yep.
think it was Hemingway, that said, the courage person is the one who feel the fear and act anyway. It's not about
Exactly.
not being fearless, no?
Yeah.
It's
No.
about
Yeah.
having a little bit. And I felt that. I was like wondering, but then I had to do it.
Yeah.
It was really important. And especially because people, when they speak about you, they always speak about themselves. This is the way I see it.
Yeah.
For example, this guy came in my studio and he loved my painting and he was like, "How much is that?" I tell him the price and he goes like, "You are expensive," and he
Yeah.
left. If I
Well,
took it
so that's a great, go ahead. Sorry.
if I would have taken personal, I would start doubting myself. Like, am I too expensive? Maybe I'm not worth my
Yeah.
paintings. They're not
Yeah.
worth this. Maybe I'm not worth enough. Maybe I should. People stop doing what they're doing when you take personal on some other
Right.
feedback.
Yeah.
But with time, I understood that this guy, he wasn't saying you're expensive. He was actually saying I cannot afford it. And I'm not trying to be arrogant. I know how people, like, people always judging and giving commentaries or, giving this feedback or judging this thing really makes people stop. And I'm so sorry for it. And we should
Yeah.
be aware that people always speaks about themselves. The guy maybe felt uncomfortable because he liked the painting and he couldn't afford it. So it's easier to address me as the wrong side of the situation. No, it's your problem. You're too expensive.
Well,
It requires humbleness to say, I cannot afford it. I like it. It's not for me. But it requires you own the problem.
yes.
And very few people are willing to own the problems of their lives. They're pointing outwards.
Yes. So, and that's a question I was going to ask about the value. So, similarly, I have pieces my first art piece that I painted. That is like, someone will have to offer me a lot of money for that. And I'm happy to keep it because I have so much joy looking at it. I mean, it was in my living room, my home, and I'd walk by it. And I don't know if there's almost any time I didn't walk by. And it wasn't like I'm looking at, it was like, oh, it made me feel good. Just that's it. And so putting a number on that and pricing artwork for you is like, how have you come to value, different paintings and sizes or
Is where you are showing, because again, if you sell the eyes in the desert, it's really valuable. So being in the
yep.
right place, and I was willing to do everything in my power to be in San Miguel in that art complex, because I saw the desert and I saw there
Yeah.
wasn't a good market. So I invented a gallery in the corridor in order to be there. So being in right, then you see around you what it sells for. The level is very subjective sometimes, especially with
Sure.
abstract art. This is the power of abstract. This is why abstract art, it fits very well the role of being an asset, an investment asset, because there are no rules, so you can. And I love it. I'm not saying, but
Beautiful. I love it too.
just saying that it fits very well the idea of being there are no rules, so there are no rules even to charge whatever I want. No. Rather, when you do figurative or realism, everybody kind of can tell if one guy or girl paints better the face of this portrait better than another one. No, this is
Yeah.
why the art market didn't really embrace the figurative, the classical portraiture or whatever. And of course, I'm generalizing too much because there are exceptions. But generally, when you
Sure.
have these rules that everybody can see what is good and what is not the best way for an asset to be done that way. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, around me, I saw the level, the average price. And then I just saw that my painting was sold before I finished them. So you just go a little bit higher because it's easier it's important to go up little by little because it's easier to go up, but it's really tough to go down with your prices. So in other words, if you have to lower your price, is a really big mistake. So be is right. Sometimes it feels like maybe I can double my paintings and I'm sure they can sell. Yes, but be aware if then there is a problem and you need to sell, you cannot go back because you lose credibility. So to avoid this mistake, just go little by little up.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this, and at the same times my prices doubled many times because I'm in the right place. My art resonates with many people. There is a purpose behind my art. That is not just myself, and I believe in it, which is the most important thing. Eventually, you find your niche. Everybody will find. There is always in these billions of people. There, you will always find your niche. So just do what you love. If you can think about through my passion, how can I impact purposes for the others? If you stick with these things and you're true to yourself and you don't think feedback personally, like you said
Yeah.
with your children saying, no, my girlfriend is the same. She's tough. She's really rude
Oh
with
yeah.
feedback.
Kelly, why? Same.
But sometimes they are, good because it's honest, it's simple. So you're like,
Yeah.
it's not
I my
sophisticated.
my first reaction is always like, she'll be like when she comes up and she's like, Blake, she just does not like it at all. I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like I'm, a little like, what? And then and then maybe the next day I'm like, okay, maybe you were a little bit right.
But what she said, again, she wasn't really speaking about your painting. She was speaking about herself, the way she sees art.
Yes. Well said.
So if it's helpful, maybe, but who
Yeah.
cares? Generally, she's speaking about her taste, like in music, you know?
Yeah.
This
So
is so kind.
wildly different. Yeah.
Yes, and it's fair for everybody. The point is to have the courage to show your art so you can find your people.
Yeah.
And sometimes selling is a way to find your people because you just put it there. And sometimes showing without selling is another way that I'm more towards into. It's a little bit controversial, but this will require another hour. So maybe next
Sure,
time.
sure. Well,
But
I've got a question for you because I know we're about in on time, and since we're we're in this digital age, like you're in San Miguel, I'm in Bali, other side of the world, and I love that. And so I'd love to get your kind of take on AI generated art, AI in general. From it being a robot to paint and to try to take your job or my job as a painter, but just that big overarching idea of AI and how you see it coming into the art world.
it's a great question, and I thought about it. I don't mind. I mean, the fact that there exists something like that, and I'm really bad with technology. So maybe it's also maybe you have to evolve. So maybe it would be a way for me to be more disciplined and learn something about computing and anything. In a way, I'm doing my interview to get the colors of within, and then I take the photo because nobody has the time to be standing in my studio. So I'm using some kind of artificial tool that's photography. No, I mean I'm
Yeah.
using it in a way. So I'm not against people that are using it. There is this quote that I think it's was attributed to Picasso. I'm not sure, but when photography was invented, they say that he said like, I'm glad photography was invented because now bad painters are becoming bad photographers.
Uh,
And
yeah.
was really straightforward. He's a controversial character, and I don't agree with everything he was sharing.
Yeah.
And if we want to take the good positive side of everything, what he was trying to say, I mean, the way I feel it is like, the painters that were into painting with this purpose, with this commitment, this pure commitment, they just sell themselves in a way to
Yeah.
photography because to do a portrait, it was easier, was faster. You could do more. So before photography, there wasn't really a need. Most of the painting were portraits, no, for the people to have like a legacy, behind them,
Yeah.
after them. So now with photography, what's the point of doing portraits if you can machine? So he said, the artists with less commitment to the art, they just moved to photography because it was easier. So they were the people where they were maybe after money. And
Hmm.
going back to what
Hmm.
I said at the beginning, if you're always looking for money, you will never get it, because it's not the way you make. I think it's more an inevitable consequence of what you're doing.
Oh
And
yeah.
the artists that stay true to the art were the one who create amazing art. Maybe the artists they left, they weren't meant to be creating any super valuable. So it's a nice filter, I guess. And it will be opportunity to see things amazingly, because this language fits perfectly some artist somewhere. I'm not afraid about classical or not digital painters. And so it's great. I mean, it's great.
Yeah, I'm similar to you. I'm like more the merrier. And I think that, and I've heard this from some friends and kind of collectors of mine where they're like, hey, there's going to be kind of technology guys. There's going to be a time where a painting will be out and it'll be like, was it AI generated? And they'll have to put a mark AI generated because it will be less valuable. And the human created ones are going to have more value, which I could kind of agree with.
I can
So
kind of
yeah,
agree to myself too. And we can see also with vinyls, right
yeah,
now, if you buy, in music, that thing that sounds weird but beautiful, you can
yes,
touch.
yeah.
They're so
There's
expensive.
something there. Yeah.
Yeah. There is
So,
just.
since I know you play in this abstract realm, but you also play in this very detailed realism realm, and I love that juxtaposition because I like some of those aspects too. And I've yet to dive into your side of oil painting and sitting there. I a long time ago, I did draw like realistic faces, pencil. I know how much time and effort it takes. And so
Mhm.
I came across a guy on Instagram, and you've probably seen him, where he does, but it's one particular guy. He typically has like pink hair, but he'll have these huge canvases spinning on the ground, maybe 8 feet by 8 feet. And then he'll be acrobatic upside down with two spinning cans. And he'll do like one pass, does this beautiful, I think it's this circle. And so,
Mhm.
and there's a considerable amount of setup to do something like that. But basically, in 30 seconds, he creates a painting, sells it. Somebody buys it, right, for 60K. I think that's pretty fucking incredible. And I would love to
Mhm.
just get your feel on that.
In which you said, I see it, and for me, it's incredible. In which way is incredible?
So it's just a matter of the colors he uses, the video that he takes. It's like I feel like that's his expression, his artistic expression, just like going out there with those colors coming together in this abstract way to create a unique piece of art. I think that's incredible. He's developed a unique style and people find it beautiful and they pay for the price he's putting out for it. And I think kudos to him. But that's
Mm.
my thought. What do you think?
I don't think anything apart from being. I like successful people. So they're just feel. I like that. I just jealousy wasn't really a thing that I have installed in my programs. Of course, a little bit, but really subtle, because when I see someone achieving and being successful in whatever they're doing, there is this. I'm curious. I really want to learn. I see them with admiration, with respect, and I'm like, this guy, this woman, they're doing something that maybe I can learn something from them. This guy, maybe I'm more drawn into learning the way his marketing skills rather than his painting skills,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
his painting skills is nice, is highly replaceable. What's the word?
Yeah, you can replicate it very easily. Yes.
You can replicate it very easily, and which is fair, because then I see 100,000 of people doing the same, kind of the same, and look
Hmm.
on, which is fair. I'm not saying judging it. It's not true to myself to do something like he does, because I don't. I'm his personality is about getting dirty in the studio. I don't like getting dirty in the studio and do a mess. I like the
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
I just like being precise and do the all the details.
Yeah.
It's so
Well, you,
why.
you you said something that I don't know if I'd thought about, and in some of my artwork I say it about my artwork, it's unrepeatable in my artwork, because I spend, depending on some of the stuff, it's a lot of time and effort and doing a lot of things there, and so that's something that's
Yeah,
unique about. Yeah.
And I want to be misunderstood. I'm not saying that the art that is
No,
hard to replicate is
no, I'm
better.
I'm tracking. Yeah.
I'm just saying that if you think about as a businessman, maybe, or as a, I don't know, man, because when someone's is rare and it's hard to replicate, usually in every niche, in every situation, is more valuable, no?
Yes.
But it's not true. It's not always true. Maybe if you are, I don't know. I'm just saying that I respect this person for the way he reaches the audience, the numbers. There is something that nobody will know, but there is something that it's another lighthouse that guides me. I paint my paintings for the people in the 2324, for the people of the 2424, 400 years from now. So the idea of living against the time, the spite of the time, the passage of the time, it's
Yes.
something that I like. People don't care, and it's fair not to care. I just myself personally like this idea because there are paintings that were made for 100 years ago that had an huge impact on me today. So if
Yes.
I can give back this to humankind, I like to think about this young guy in 400 years, if we're still here, getting emotional with one of my paintings. It's just a way of giving back. It's always about, to me, it's always about giving back, even more that you receive. No, so that painting that he does are gonna last against the passage of time. I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe he doesn't care. I care, and every painting that I do, I try to be prolific, and at the same time, I try to show that little guy in 400 years that I did my best. This is really romantic, but I will love here.
That's incredible and well said. I think that's good. Good to end with. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Well, if you can, if you'd share, if you where they everybody can find you, obviously where you live and where your studio is, and then if you have any shows and where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, social media is my Instagram is the only one that I really follow up with, and maybe I should diversify a little bit more. But
Yeah,
technology again
yeah.
is
Get
a
on
guess.
LinkedIn, X, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah.
Maybe because I'm so grateful with YouTube because it's the platform where I learned painting mostly.
Yep.
You should start something with YouTube. I just so focus in painting that the work you're doing. I respect that. It's not as easy as people think. Setting up, then editing the video, put it out there to help other people. It's a thing. It's not something to take for granted. And I respect what you do,
Thank you.
of course. And maybe one day I will do it too. I would say Instagram, you can reach me there. There is my webpage, filippogiusti.com. And and my studio is in San Miguel de Allende, Fabrica L'Aurora. Now I'm preparing few shows, and it's going to be in Mexico City in one of the major museums, and this bank is going to sponsor it. So interesting
Awesome.
news for 2025. I'm going to be in Milan. Many, many beautiful things ahead.
Incredible.
But Instagram, if you want to reach out, is the best way.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Filippo, thank you so much for your time. Incredible conversation, sir. Thank you. And look forward to doing it again soon.
Sure. Thank you, Blake. Ciao.
Have a great evening. See ya.